All right. So if you've ever had a mule and you need to go ahead and get the rear bearings out of the rear axles, you got to take it all apart. And those bearings, you have to press it all back in from the inside of a tube to the outside of the wheel hub. So the only way to do it is there's a little C-clip. Actually, it's a pretty big C-clip. You have to reach inside the tube, pull the C-clip out, and then you've got the back of the bearing. You have to drive that bearing from the outside in to knock it out of the tube. So today we're going to go ahead and try and make basically a bearing installer. We've already knocked out the bearing, now we need to install the new one. The problem is, you're going to push that bearing all the way in and there's a little lip, and that's going to stop you from getting that bearing all the way seated against the back of the hub. So we're going to go ahead and try and make one and see how this goes.
Now, will this tool also work for any other times you need to put a bearing in, not just a mule?
Correct. Just so long as what we make, yes. What we're going to end up doing is we're going to make a tool that's interchangeable. So just so long as the bearing size is about this size, you'll be able to do it. You can also go and these are just washers. I went to the local hardware store, got large washers and some nuts and some bolts. So what we're going to end up doing is, just so long as you know how to weld or you're slightly proficient at it, you'll be able to make the tool that I'm talking about, and then kind of get the job done per thing that you need. So the first thing we're going to end up doing, we're going to double these up, and what we're looking for is the thickness. We want the installer to be as thick as possible without taking up too much space. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to mark this, punch it, and we're going to drill a couple of holes in the face of this, and then we're going to end up taking that and we're going to weld these two together, and then we're going to end up welding a nut to that, and then by the time it's all said and done, we're going to have a bearing driver. But I'm going to take it one step further. I'm going to end up grinding down the ridges on a second nut. That way when we install it, this is what tool's going to look like. When we install it, when it's done, this nut is actually going to set inside and it's going to self-center. That way when you're driving it in, everything stays as one whole piece, and then you'll just pop it back out when you're done driving the race in. But the first thing we're going to do is drill this out. I'm going to mark it, drill 4 holes, and be right back. Alright, now we just got to clean this up. I'm going to take the flapper wheel to it, flatten this all out, and then we're going to take that nut and we're going to weld that nut on, and then we'll have the basic bearing driver. So this is going to be our driver. And this was welded with a Century welder, 200 bucks. Just get out there and weld something. This shouldn't give you any problems. Now we'll clean this up a little bit more, and we're going to clean up the sides to make sure that our sides, you want this to just be a little bit smaller than the bearing you're trying to press in. So we're going to have to go ahead and just take the sides down just a little bit. You want to make sure that you're on the outer race and you're not pressing in on the inner race. And as of right now, we have just a little bit of an overhang. So we're going to go ahead and clean that up on the sides, clean that up, and then we should be right where we need to be. Should be just small enough now. All right, let me clean up the edges and we're done. All right. So here's the last little thing. You're gonna go ahead, you're gonna wanna put some anti-seize on the threads to make sure that nothing gets stuck. But you're gonna take your driver in and you're just gonna screw it in place. Okay? Once you're screwed in place, you're going to take your inner race end, you're going to screw that down, tighten it up, then you can go ahead, butt that up. It's going to go ahead and naturally seat inside the bearing, and then just smack it with a hammer and you're able to drive it in. And that's it. One bearing driver.